Oh, hello there, and welcome to Phil Talking D20. So, exciting times, it's another playtest, and I'm not talking about the gunslinger in this video. That's the next video, because I am more excited about the Inventor. Mainly because I just personally prefer it. Gunslinger, we've had that before. And maybe some of it you can already do as a ranger. Unpopular opinion. But the Inventor is a very cool, quirky, new take on being medieval Iron Man, I think is the best way to sum it up. Do you want to be medieval Iron Man, medieval Tony Stark, Tonyus Starkimus? Well, great news, the Inventor enables this. So quick rundown on some of the key kind of nuts and bolts. So effectively 8+ con hit points, what we do. You've got proficiencies as you'd expect. There's nothing too surprising in the kind of the normal kind of building blocks of the class. You're trained in simple and martial, you're trained in light and medium armors, you've got expert, fortitude and will, and you're trained in reflex, trained in perception. Nothing really too out of the ordinary there until we get to key terms. Modifications: unstable, ranged trip and tethered are some of our unique key terms. We're going to touch on them as we kind of get into abilities, because that's where they relate to. Obviously level 1, we'll start with the kind of the core. Obviously you get your ancestry, your background, your initial proficiencies. You get something called explode, where your class just explodes and you can't play them anymore. It's not true at all. I'm just being flippant. You get innovation, an inventor feat, overdrive, and peerless inventor. Now, what do any of these weird and wacky terms actually mean? Basically, your innovation is a weapon or a suit of armor or a construct companion that functions like an animal companion, but obviously has some unique quirk traits because it's not an animal, it's a construct. It gains some unique, obviously, immunities that construct gets that animal companions don't. Is it better than an animal companion? No. Is it worse than an animal companion? No. It's very solid, it's very cool. But if you have a good concept of animal companions, you've kind of got an idea of where it's starting. Now, why is it exciting and cool? You're a crazy inventor, and they have this wonderfully cool system of your character growing and developing and improving their invention or their innovation as they go. If you chose armor as your level 1 innovation, you basically get a suit of armor that only you can wear and use, and you have to constantly kind of maintain and update, and you can't sell it. So they've kind of stopped people immediately jumping into the, I'm going to crazy suit of armor and sell it for 10,000 gold at level 1. Ha ha ha. Sorry, you can't do that. Again, that's a hard and fast rule. If you genuinely push to a point in a campaign where your inventor is now setting up businesses and guilds and has put loads of time and effort into building kind of quirky inventions that they sell or that they rent to members of that guild, and you and the GM and the party think it's really cool, I'm sure it's fine. Never take a rule as law. I suppose another quick and interesting unique talking point actually is that the rarity of both gunslinger and inventor is uncommon. And basically what they're saying is you need GM permission, because maybe not every GM wants medieval Iron Man literally flying at level 16 if they make armor their innovation, get to level 16 and choose the, what do they call it, like aero glide armor or whatever they call it, where you basically gain a fly speed. That, I suppose, is quite a good point to kind of, I suppose, give a better kind of clue in on how the inventor works. They're almost like a caster in a weird way. So some of their unique, cool and powerful abilities are kind of similar in balance metrics to things that casters could do. So like I said, 16th level, gaining the ability to fly, you could do that as a caster. So it's not like it's oh, you can only do these one, or these handful of things only if you take an inventor. It's just a very cool spin on gaining access to unique abilities that sometimes maybe are only magically based in a world, whereas you're coming at it from this kind of pseudo-scientific, alchemical kind of engineering, the Doc from Back to the Future kind of I suppose, viewpoint. So some of the cool stuff that really jumped out at me: if you chose armor at level 1, you gain one armor modification, and these include things like metallic reactants. The metals of your armor are carefully alloyed to ground against electricity and protect you from acidic chemical reactions. Now, basically, this is giving you 2 plus half your level damage reduction against electrical and acid damage. If you were to choose otherworldly protections, you build your armor with carefully chosen materials and gadgets to protect yourself against otherworldly attacks. One of your types of resistance is to negative or positive damage, which is quite cool. And then another one is alignment based of your choice. So you can already see where they're going. Now, if you choose a construct, you can make it amphibious. You can give it a sensor array, which gives it low light vision and dark vision, as well as tremor sense, imprecise, out to 30 feet. So it becomes like this kind of warning system, if you like. And these are all level 1. And obviously you can only have one of these. So don't go thinking you're going to have armor and a construct and then a weapon. Let's have a quick look at weapon, as I've just mentioned it. Really solid, simple. Oh, there's a pun and a clue. Start of a 10. Complex simplicity. Simple weapons only. You increase its weapon die by 1 step. We've seen these kind of abilities before, things like the cleric. It also gains one of the following traits: versatile bludgeoning, versatile piercing, or versatile slashing. Now that's kind of a good key into how they're approaching the weapon aspect of things. Obviously we're going to go through the levels, you'll see that you add more in to your inventions very organically from this class, which I really, really like. Another one, pacification tools, melee only. Softer materials make your weapon suited to render foes unconscious. Basically, it gains the disarm ability, and it gains the non-lethal trait, so that you can have a D12 great axe that when you swing it, like an airbag goes poof out of it, and you just muller them, but you don't kill them, you just knock them unconscious. You could literally do the airbag as well, because they in the fluff and the flavour, they really kind of want you to kind of get kind of quirky and kind of have fun with it. I would say the word silly, but I don't want to use the word silly because people are like, oh, I couldn't possibly play such a silly class. I'm far too mature to be having fun at a role-playing game, which would be a shame, because I think one of the really nice things about this is it really wants you to invest in being a bit of a mad inventor. And yeah, you don't have to play it like that. You can play it any way you want, but that really feels like the meat on the bones that they've really wanted to kind of tap into with their creation of the class, if you like, the meta of how they've kind of thought out this class. Like I said, it's very the Doc from Back to the Future. It feels like that anyway. What else have we got? Let's have a quick jump forward. Overdrive. This is another one of your level 1 abilities. It's a 1 action. You add greater power to your attacks by throwing an array of small gadgets and gizmos into Overdrive. Attempt a crafting check with a standard DC for your level. So effectively, On a critical success, you add your intelligence bonus. Yeah, you add your intelligence modifier to damage for 1 minute or 10 rounds. On a success, half of that. On a failure, you don't do it, but you can try again. And then on a critical failure, whoops, something explodes. You take fire damage equal to your level. You can't use overdrive again for 1 minute. And then there's a note, if you have a construct innovation, its strikes also gain the additional damage if you critically fail the crafting check. It also takes the fire damage on a crit fail, but it also gains the other benefits. So one of the really cool things about this is all the special abilities keyed into the class for empowering you. If you've taken the innovation construct companion tree, you can pass those benefits to the construct as well. So if you're getting that intelligence bonus, you can add that to your construct. So if you are looking at this and going, I'm going to be a kind of very skills focused, kind of sit back, kind of range character, but I'm going to have this very kind of powerful construct that fights and kind of defends me, you can buff it and it can then protect you, which is very cool. That's just one example of what you can do with it. There are multiple paths, but it's just trying to give you a bit of a flavour. It's definitely a very cool class. Definitely a very cool class. Now, the usual things that we see in classes as you level up, like weapon specializations and your improvements to saves and perception, all those kind of normal things that you see progress outside of your feat picks are there and present. However, one of the things that I kind of thought was a very, very cool and very clever design aspect to this class was reconfigure at 3rd level, which basically means that because you're this inventor and the things that you're inventing you know so much about, and your techniques that you use you know so much about, you can retrain with a day of downtime and relearn a feat, for example, from your class, or make an adjustment and change one of your innovation abilities. So this class is at 3rd level becomes incredibly flexible. And again, one of the reasons I really like that is it really differentiates itself and focuses on its flavour and its narrative of being you as an inventor, and being able to constantly chop and change with a much shorter time span than normal, because normally retraining is a month or a week. I think it's a month, isn't it? It's not something that people do very often. It's not like every session someone's saying, I'm going to retrain. Oh, great. It's great that the option's there, but like I said, what I like is that they've made a real unique feature in this class of reflecting the class's constant kind of learning and tinkering and kind of improving. So I like that. That's very cool. What else have we got? Now, where's something else that jumped out at me that I quite liked? Okay, so let's quickly jump and look at level 1 feats before we start looking at how the innovation will level up, because again, there are key points where the innovation levels up by itself on top of the feats you're choosing. Let's have a quick look. Inventor feats. Built-in tools, level 1 feat, really simple and straightforward. You've built tools into your innovation, allowing you to use them easily. When you take this feat, choose a tool set you own a bulk of 1 or less, which becomes part of your innovation without increasing its bulk. As long as you are wielding, wearing, or adjacent to your innovation, you have the same quick access to these tools as the tools you're wearing. And they don't count against the usual limit of tools you can wear. So you could be a combatant personally, and have a repair kit on you for maintaining equipment, but you could have taken battle medicine and the medicine skill and put a medical toolkit, a healer's kit in your innovation that's this droid, if you like, this clockwork gnome or clockwork rabbit or whatever you've kind of flavoured it as, and have that go and use its heal skill on kind of, on your behalf to an extent, which again, those kind of little things that you can already see how you can really kind of weave quite a unique path with this class, just as a simple example. However, who remembers Quake Arena? I do, and I was pretty damn good at the old Quake Arena back in the day, which is me being old, I think, is basically the best way to reference that for younger people who are like, Quake what? Explosive leap, level 1 feat. Fire, innovation, move, unstable. I mentioned unstable before, and this is one of the reasons why I'm coming back to it, because I wanted to make it relevant. You aim an explosion downward and directly beneath your feet in order to launch yourself into the air. You jump 30 feet in any direction without touching the ground. Normally that is how you jump. You must land on a space of solid ground within 30 feet of you, or else you fall after using your next action, which I quite like, because maybe there's something like grabbing a ladder on the side of an airship, and you rocket jump 30 feet, and then you have that action to make a climb check to grab the ladder so you don't fall, which I think is very, very sensible and forward thinking, again, in the design process of this class, to make that a much more useful ability than it would be if you were just hard like, oh no, then you just fall. Like, oh, I can't do anything about that? Of course you can. Now, if your innovation is a minion, it can take this action rather than you. So again, this is back to that keying these abilities in to your construct companion, if that's the path you choose, so that you're not just going, oh, there's loads of feats I can't take, which again is nice. It's always good to have that inclusion, and 2E has been very good at doing that for the most part. Not perfect, before someone says, oh, but what about this one particular niche example, Philip? By the way, do feel free to do that. That was just me being a little bit flippant again. Now, unstable. What does that actually mean? So, because these keywords, they matter. They give us good guidance on what that means mechanically in a gaming session. So, I can remember, but I want to kind of make sure that I'm definitely on point, because I've taken quite a bit of time to read both classes. I was up till the early hours of the morning last night, because I'm in the UK. So when this released, it was late at night for me, but this is how dedicated I am. And I didn't have to be up today, so I thought, let's just stay up and read some Pathfinder stuff, because that's fun. Now, unstable. Unstable actions rely on experimental functions of your innovation that you can't fully predict. Wonderful, wonderful flavor text there. If you attempt, so they basically, I'll simplify it, because not that it's complicated, but it is a little bit wordy because it's something new, and this is a playtest, and they want to make sure they're trying to explain it properly. But the very simple gist of it is it's a bit like a wand. In 2E, you can use a wand once a day, and then if you want to use it again the same day, you have to make a kind of a danger check, and that's what they've done here. So you can use it once a day reliably, but then if you don't spend 10 minutes essentially doing a craft check to, if you like, check it over and inspect it after it's been pushed to its limits, you have to do a DC 17 flat check to just use it again. Now, on a failure, the innovation malfunctions in a spectacular fashion, such as an explosion. We've heard that before. Or a shower of sparks, wasting the actions and making the innovation incapable of handling further unstable actions. An innovation's creator can spend 10 minutes retuning their innovation, retuning their innovation, and making adjustments to return it to functionality, making it safe to use unstable abilities again. So effectively, it's kind of like once or maybe twice a combat, you can use these specific unstable actions, which is kind of, I suppose, their way of balancing certain abilities that are perhaps a bit more spellcasty, not completely spellcasty, but I suppose in their big picture balance metric of what some classes can do and some classes can't do, and the limits that some classes have, because, you know, a sorcerer can't fire off 50 fireballs around, just like a fighter can't make 50 power attacks around because of their action economy, and the fact that a spellcaster, although can do more damage with a fireball, has a limited number of spell slots. That's the kind of balance I'm talking about. So the rocket jump, hopefully there are not multiple instances in a combat where that one particular ability, it really matters that you use it 5 times in a combat. Do you know what I mean? Like, it would be like expecting to use Fireball 5 times in a combat. And it's not like for like, that's just a very simple comparison. But that's effectively the kind of the balance metric they're trying for, which I really like. Let's just have a quick look. To use an unstable action, you must be using your innovation, for example, wearing an armor, suit of armor or wielding the weapon that is the subject of your innovation. If you have a minion innovation, some unstable actions are taken by the minion instead of you, for obvious reasons, because they're doing it, not you. In that specific situation, only the minion can do it. You can't both do it, is the general gist of that. And you need to have used the commanded, in these cases, only the minion can take that action. You can't, and the minion needs to have been commanded that turn to take the action. Furthermore, your Inventor abilities might grant you equipment, the following traits, which are represented here for convenience. So now we're going on to talk about things like ranged trip, which is quite cool and unique, and then tethered, which is quite cool and unique. But again, those are specifically tied to specific feats and abilities. So let's kind of jump back now that we've dabbled into unstable. There are plenty that don't have unstable, such as the level 2 feat, transform armor. That's right. You turn into a car or a big red truck and you go, Autobots, roll out. That's not true at all. I just made that up. Perhaps being flippant again. So basically what this does, transform armor is one action, and if you were obviously wearing the armor, what it does is for one action, it chunk into your hands and it reduces its bulk. So normally what happens is if you've got a suit of armor and you take it off and stow it in a backpack because maybe you've got to swim across a river and your character is bothered about the armor check penalty for whatever reason, because maybe they haven't got the strength and that becomes important to them, or you're going for a meal and so you take your armor off and put on some nice clothes and you stuff it in your backpack, normally that armor bulk value increases by 1 because it's like folded down and stuffed in a bag and not spread across your whole body. What this does is it reduces that bulk by 1 to a minimum of L, light bulk, and then enables you to then put it back on as one action. So you can literally like pick up the briefcase, thinking again Iron Man, is that 2? Where he kind of has the suitcase that kind of unloads onto his body, and then do that with it, which is very cool. It's much like the gunslinger. There are some feats that are very situational, and when they are required in that specific situation, they're cool. Another good example of and that's just a level 2 feat. I mean, he doesn't want cool Iron Man transforming armor. If that's what you're really into, I think that's really cool. Would I necessarily be that fussed about it? Maybe. Transform construct, a very similar thing. You're basically your construct kind of folds down and becomes something that is carryable. It's not like it's like 1 bulk, but it's much more kind of, you can lug it about easier or put it on a cart out of the way easily, and all those kind of things that you might want to do with it. Again, they're a little bit situational, but they're definitely useful, and they're low-level feats, so they're kind of, you can throw them away and not be too worried about it, because the bigger stuff at higher levels tends to be the juicier stuff. Now, dual form weapon. If you've taken the weapon innovation feat, so this is a level 4 feat, you've built your innovation with replaceable interlocking pieces. Select a new weapon modification you can spend 2 interact actions to switch your weapon innovation between the 2 configurations. These don't need to be taken consecutively, but if you provide the first and not the second, the weapon is non-functional. So basically, you can add more adaptability to your weapon at level 4 if that's the path you've taken. Or you could take Megaton Strike. You activate gears, explosives, and other hidden gadgets. Now, this is an unstable action, but it's basically power attack. So this is kind of what I'm kind of touchstoning on when I kind of mentioned this kind of balance meta. Can you be a powerful combatant or a powerful tank or almost like a spell castery character, not specifically actually an active caster in the same way as a sorcerer? Yes, you can, but there are limits. So this class can do some really cool stuff that lots of other classes can do, but it can't do with them as regularly. And the trade-off of that is that it has some unique quirks and some very cool abilities that are building up alongside these feats, such as where we get to, let's just jump to where that kicks in. Just so I can also then touch on where things start to move. So obviously we talked about our initial innovation, and then I think it's level 7. Let's just double check. Reconfigure. Yeah. At level 7, you get an offensive boost, and that basically gives you another set of options that are, again, quite cool for your innovation. Now, you made additional innovations to your to upgrade your offensive capability. Strikes that rely on your innovation deal an additional d6 type of damage determined on the boost you choose. If your innovation is armor, the boost applies to your melee unarmed strikes and to your melee strikes with one weapon you choose during your daily preparations. Now, that's really cool because it means that the offensive boost will just apply. And that is, and that's basically this extra d6 of damage, which is jolt, electricity. Your innovation jolts foes with electricity. So a simple example of how that works is your daily preparations. You've got your trusty, mace that is just your character's weapon. It's not your innovation, and your innovation is your armor. So you choose jolt, and that's the weapon that you're applying it to. Only that weapon then gets this d6 extra electricity damage. Now, if you take the weapon perk, obviously that's considerably jumped up because, as you've seen, the weapon gets these cool abilities that make it more adaptable and give it more options. And then you're also adding damage to that on top of that. So, but it's nice that they've not gone, oh, well, you only get offensive boost if you've chosen weapons. And again, we've seen add it to your construct if you've got this construct that you've gone down the path of. Momentum, saw, it basically gains a d6 extra slashing damage. Your innovation or its ammunition employs spinning saw blades during your attacks. You fire your crossbow, and you've modified the arrow bolt heads to have spinning kind of disc blades on the tip, or something ridiculously bonkers like that. Like I said, crazy inventor. It's crazy. So that's kicking in at 7th level. Oh, as well as weapon specialization. Ooh, juicy. So yeah, like I said, these standard things that we see kicking in and across all the classes, they still apply, but we're getting these juicy extra little kind of bonuses. Oh, Christmas bonus. It's an Asterix and Obelix joke there for anyone who remembers that cartoon series about the Gauls fighting the Romans. Another obscure reference, thank you very much. Now, we kind of touched on some interesting ones. What else have we got? We've kind of touched on 4th level, so let's have a bit of a look at 6th level. Actually, no, let's go back to 4th level because diving armor innovation, it's a modification. You have to have chosen the armour innovation to pick this one, but you've modified your armour with features like fins, rotors, and other gadgets to make it easy for you to move through the water, plus mechanical gills. All right. While wearing your armour innovation, you can breathe underwater and gain a swim speed equal to your land speed. Level 4. Level 4, Aquaman. Super cool. What I like about this class is that it means that, say you were doing a campaign where everyone was aquatic, they're playing sea elves and those kind of creatures, and someone says, I want to be a human, and you're like, well, that doesn't work, and you're like, but I'm going to be an inventor, so I'm going to have all these so to start with, I'll have like a submarine, and then I'm going to modify and get to level 4 and get this suit of armor that means I can just swim around like everyone else. Brilliant, awesome. You can add these kind of cool you can make certain races and kind of character ideas fit into situations where perhaps they wouldn't work without powerful magic items. This gives you options, which is very funky. I like that. Now, what else have we got? Where's that one that I quite like? Yeah, Clockwork Celerity, level 6 feet. You get celery sticks that you can charge with magical... no, that's not true at all. I'm lying again, aren't I? I apologise. Clockwork Celerity. Armour, construct, or weapon innovations. It's a free action triggered by your turn simply beginning. Unstable clockwork devices in your innovation allow you to push your innovation to act more quickly. You're quickened for this turn. How you can use the extra action depends on your innovation. Armour. You can use the extra action to step, stride, or use another movement action granted by your innovation, such as swim, if you have the diving armour feat. Construct. You can use the extra action to command your minion, so a free action to command your minion effectively. And then weapon. You can use the extra action to strike with your innovation. So basically, level 6, you can make 4 strikes. Savage. Obviously there are penalties, yada yada yada, balance, but it's cool, especially if you were making 3 move actions because desperation required it, and then a strike to save a party member who was about to be horribly killed. Again, you've got to think about these not terms of, oh well, I don't think it's useful. There will be moments where they are all useful, and when they're useful, they're vital. Now, what else have we got? Level 8. Gigaton Strike. It's basically building on the Megaton Strike. It's basically that power attack amped up a gear. If you really want to go down the damage dealer path of Inventor, perfectly valid, very cool. Incredible Construct Companion. Again, as you're leveling up, you can empower your construct further. Brilliant, happy days. Again, very similar to Animal Companion, but cool. Don't think that's not a good thing. Overdrive Ally, level 8. So you can effectively fling some of your powered up gadgets to an ally, sharing your benefits briefly with them. Choose an ally within 30 feet until the end of their next turn. The ally gains the same amount of additional damage to their strikes as you currently gain from Overdrive. Brilliant. Buffer. Get some buffing done. What else have we got? Boost modulation, Gigavolt, again, building on a previous feat called Megavolt. Let's go back and look at Megavolt. Where was that? No, it wasn't there. Megavolt, level 6, 2 actions. You cause your innovation to shoot out a bolt of electricity, damaging creatures in a line. Creatures in a 60-foot line from you take 3d12 electricity damage with a basic reflex save against your class DC. The electricity damage increases by 1d12 8th level, and every 2 levels thereafter, you can choose to increase the line to 90 feet long if you have the Breakthrough Innovation class feature, and to 90 or 120 feet long if you have the Revolutionary Innovation class feature. If your innovation is a minion, it can use this action rather than you. So, do you see what I'm kind of why I kept referencing back to spellcasters? That's effectively a spell. It does have the unstable trait. So that's a 10-minute cooldown before you can reuse that ability, but it's pretty juicy. Who doesn't want a giant mechanical frog that farts a massive bolt of lightning? Now, let's have a quick skim through. Let's see if there. What was the other one that I really liked? Let's have a look at devastating weaponry. Already sounds cool, doesn't it? Feat level 18. It's power time, or hammer time, if you're Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, prerequisites, weapon innovation. It's not an unstable action, but it is a 3-action thing. So it's your whole round. So clearly it's rubbish. You release a volley of projectiles from your weapon or power it to fly about and strike multiple creatures. Make a strike with your weapon innovation against each creature within 30 feet of you. Don't increase your multi-attack penalty until after making all the attacks. If your innovation is a melee weapon and any of the attacks are outside of your reach, release the weapon before the strikes and it returns to your grasp after all of them. If your hands are full when the weapon returns, it falls to the ground in your space. So a whole round action to ignite the rocket booster guided Warhammer in your hand and launch it so that it flies around, smashing into everybody using its gyro-stabilized monochromatic energon matrix decombobulator, trying to get into the Inventor mindset, smashes into loads of people, comes back to your hand. Brilliant. Who doesn't want that in their life? I suppose from a non-combat-y kind of hostile one that was quite cool. Where is it? It wasn't built-in tools. Dual form weapon. I was going to jump back to one of the earlier ones that I quite liked because it enabled you to try and sabotage people's equipment. Tamper. Not Florida tamper. Tamper as in tampering with something to break it. You tamper with a foe's weapon or armour. This is a level 1 feat. Choose either a weapon held by an enemy in your reach or a suit of armour worn by an enemy. Attempt a crafting check versus the enemy's reflex DC. Nice and solid mechanic, we know that very well. Crit success. Your tampering is incredibly effective. If you tampered with a weapon, the enemy takes a -2 circumstance penalty on attack rolls and damage rolls. If you tamper with armour, the armour hampers the enemy's movement, causing them to be flat-footed and take a 10-foot penalty to their speed. Either effect lasts until the enemy interacts to remove the effect. Success, your tampering is temporarily effective as critical success, but the effect ends after 1 round. Even if the enemy hasn't interacted with it. And then critical failure, your tampering backfires dramatically, causing a small explosion from your own tools or gear. You take fire damage equal to your level. We've seen that before, but a brilliantly flavoured class. There's bound to be, in the kind of the fallout from people playing these classes exclusively, some clunk that's found, because these are beta classes, they're not the finished article. But as a starter for 10, I really like the Inventor. It's cool and quirky and fun enough to be worthy of a class, which is kind of one of the things I'm kind of hinting at with the Gunslinger. The Gunslinger doesn't quite, for me, feel like it's worthy of a full class because it very much touches on other classes already, but that's by the by. It's still a good class. I just think it might need a little bit more work. So I'm definitely a fan. Jump into the playtest, do get involved, do have a throwaway session where you just bugger about with these new classes, do the the Paizo kind of survey to kind of give you feedback to help them improve these classes, because that's what this is about. This isn't about them saying this is the class you're getting, now jog on it, even if it's rubbish, we don't care. They want positive, constructive feedback. So get involved, make it happen. Drop me a like, drop me a subscribe. Next couple of days, probably tomorrow, Gunslinger, Stay tuned for that one. Stay classy. Peace out. I'll see you on the next one.